Welcome to another week's Reddit reply. I'm excited for this. It's always a good time to go through this stuff and talk about different things that we see on the subreddit for Marvel Champions. Now, really quick before we do me a huge favor. Two quick things. If you haven't joined the community over on twitch.tv/D20 Woodworking, you should definitely do that. It's a lot of fun. It's really cool to hang out. Make sure to hit the follow button, turn on notifications because the live streams have been a lot of fun. I know we focus a lot on Marvel Champions, but we're starting to do other things now too, and it's really cool. It's really fun. So make sure to do that. Also, I don't know how many people know, but I do have a Patreon. If you want to support me there, feel free to. I know a lot of people like Patreon and like supporting people that way. You know, as a platform. So feel free to support me over there. I do status updates. I do polls where Patreon and YouTube members get to vote on something I get to do once a month. You get exclusive content depending on the tier. There's a ton of cool stuff. Make sure to go over there, check it out. All the links for that stuff is down below. Go see that stuff. So, all right, let's jump into Reddit. All right, we have a lot to cover today. There's a lot of questions to go through, so we'll go through them kind of fast. Power of 4 hand size. There needs to be a power of 4 hand size resource card. Help these heroes out. That'd be nice. That would be nice. But then I wonder if we would just dilute our decks too much with power of 4 hand size cards. You know what I mean? Like I just wonder if it would be like a little too much. So while I kind of agree with it, then we're just going to have so many resource cards that I don't know if that ends up working out for us in the long run, really. Actually, what we need now, thinking about it, is a way if you have a 4 hand size to get like an extra card draw. Like you spend a card to draw 2 cards or something like that. I mean, it have to be like something beneficial, not just like throw away a card to get a card. Maybe that works. I don't know. But let me know your ideas. All right, the next one is finish the expert villain gauntlet. Now, fun fact, this person's actually in our Twitch live streams or YouTube live streams. So you can ask them all about it if you come over to the live stream side. Just saying, it's a lot of fun over there. You should come hang out. Anyway, I recently embarked on a mission to take 2 of my favorite decks, Star-Lord Leadership and Venom Protection, and run them two-handed through every villain on expert and keep track of my progress. As I went, I tried to hold my decks as good as they could be while not allowing myself to specifically tech against any villain. It was loads of fun. I only had 7 losses, 4 of them in the Guardians Most Wanted, shocker. I did detailed write-ups of both deck lists. I'm very proud of the way they turn out. I think both these decks are super solid fun on their own, and paired together, they're a force to be reckoned with. I love to hear what people think of the list. So this is one of those things, I do want to try this out. They sent me these deck lists over on Discord, so I do want to try this out and see how it plays. But for those people that are curious, this is what the Star-Lord one looks like. So that gives you a rough idea if you want to pause the video and try that. And then also the Venom Protection one. Now, again, this is up on Reddit, so you can just go to the link. You can go check this out on Marvel CDB to get the whole deck list and whatever, and go support their deck and like it and upvote it and all that fun stuff. So excited to try this out. It's really cool that we're getting to the point that there's so many cards out there now that like the thought of like the one deck can become like a thing now. And I know people have said this before that it would probably be Doctor Strange, and maybe it will be, but I don't think it's been done because so many villains have so many different different features of beating you, right? Like for a while, Stunlock was the strongest way to like win the game, right? Well, now there's a lot of villains with steady and stalwarts, so that strategy doesn't really work, right? And then chump blocking was the way to win, and now, well, that's not really with overkill and different things that they're doing with collections and stuff. That's really not the way to win. So it'd be cool to see if we slowly start getting to the point of like the one deck being built for Marvel Champions. Beating harder difficulty villains with Hulk and True Soul. Does anyone have advice on how to beat harder villains with Hulk? Now, again, I'm going to talk about our live stream chat and the Discord too. We have some players that really like playing Hulk, like really like playing Hulk, and they talk about it all the time. Most importantly, the I think I even commented on this post. Shield Hulk may be the best way to do it. And there's a few decks on Marvel CDB that like have examples of a Shield Hulk build. I've done them on stream. I think I have videos of them somewhere. I'm not 100% sure. But it's a much better way to play Hulk. It's very strong. It's very good for him. I don't think there's a perfected way yet per se, but it is like what you kind of want to do is lean into that shield trait and just build out from there because it's so good at reducing threat, and then Hulk can just do what Hulk does best. So that's my strategy, or that'd be my advice for taking on difficult villains with Hulk and True Solo. Best sleeves. Looking for recommendations for sleeves for a long time. I've been using Pro Support 65mm by 90mm off of Amazon. They work fine. Now that size is out of stock everywhere, and all I can find is 67 by 92, which is too big. Anyone have recommendations for sleeves they like for this game? 65 by 90. I don't even know what Dragon Shield is. What is Dragon Shield? It just says standard. So I just said it was the standard size, 63 by 88. That's not what they want. But yeah, so I use for those that don't know, I use Dragon Shield. Oh, look, the green screen shows up on that. So I use Dragon Shield for everything. I really like it. Um I use for the hero cards, I use a black matte back, and the reason being is because I have a bunch of promo cards, and the blue is slightly off, so I don't want to give myself any advantage. So that's why that. I have a clear matte for the encounter deck, and anything that has two sides is just like a standard clear sleeve. But I use Dragon Shield. They are expensive. I get it; they're expensive, but I have played hundreds of games before I have to replace sleeves. So I think they're worth it in my opinion, but that's up to you. Higher price tag in the beginning, but I used to play with Sleeve Kings, and I'd have to replace those all the time because they used to get like tacky, and then they would stick. So like I would try to draw a card, and I couldn't or I would draw two cards really, which was kind of a pain. So I invest in premium sleeves. That's what I use. I know there's other premium brands out there. Nothing against them. I've heard they work really well. That's just what I use. All right, player side schemes and unique ruling. Does anyone know if the unique ruling stops another player playing a copy of a side scheme already in the victory display? If Cable played and defeated Call for Backup side scheme, could one turn Domino play it in their deck later at the time? Yeah, no, they can. So there's nothing in the rules that says that a unique card that's in the victory display can't be played again. The way to think of this is with like Loki, right? There's a bunch of Lokis, and when you beat a Loki, it goes in the victory display, and then you still face Loki. So like if you were not able to face a Loki, like that wouldn't be able to happen. It's only normal ruling of like in your deck you only allow one, and then on the table there's only allowed one. That's it. That's the only ruling. But as far as victory display goes, yeah, there could be multiple copies in the victory display. That's more than fine. It's just the play area and your deck limitations that they have. Should Peter Parker Spider-Man be S tier, or at least A tier, as a true solo hero? Disclaimer, I've only been playing for 2 months, and the only heroes I've played are Spider-Man Miles Morales, Ghost Spider, and Spider-Man Peter Parker. That is a solid set. I love it. So there's probably something I'm missing. I've been following a lot of content creators for Marvel Champions, and everyone ranks Peter Parker around B tier, sometimes C tier. I think he's really good and always underrated. Peter can consistently take down the toughest villains in the game, like Ronan and Thanos on expert mode, which I definitely can't say for Miles and Gwen. I All right, we'll get back to that in a second. Two heroes that are often seen as stronger than Peter. Even though they're really strong and Miles can blitz scenarios like none other, I haven't faced Venom Goblin, but I saw someone post yesterday that they used Peter to beat the whole Sinister Most campaign too, which sounds awesome. Peter's hero kit feels extremely balanced to me, like he can do a little bit of everything, and his strong defense versatility makes him one of the best characters to use Web Warrior cards with. Too long didn't read. If Peter Parker can beat the strongest villains in the game on expert mode more consistently than other heroes, why isn't he considered one of the best? So, okay. This goes into a much larger conversation about tiers and tier rankings. And it's a very interesting conversation to have that I think is worth having at one point, and maybe I'll do a video on it at some point. Tier rankings, by their very nature, are subjective, right? They're very subjective. They have to be subjective. There's no way to make a completely objective tier ranking because the way you play is different than the way I play. Just simple as that. So if I think Valkyrie is the strongest hero in the game because she is, and you think she's not, and I can go, well, I can defeat every single villain with Valkyrie, and you can't. Where does that lie in power rankings? Right? Like it's kind of a weird conversation to have because who's right and who's wrong in this situation? Who's more powerful here? Power rankings will always be subjective based off the point of view of the person. That's why power rankings should always be treated as somebody's individual way of looking at the game, right? So like if I rank somebody in S tier, it's because I think they're really strong and really good, and I can make arguments of why I think this person is strong. And then you could come back and say, well, I don't think that because here's my experiences with this hero. Now, here's the thing. I don't think Peter Parker is balanced well at all because he has no real way to reduce threat, right? Reducing threat with Peter is really hard because you have to put the that spider tracer thing on minions. Very hard to do. He only thwarts for one. You would have to make a really good justice deck in order to like make that work. And I haven't looked at his deck yet, so I have to see if that's what he's doing. But I think that Peter Parker is more straightforward to play, and Miles and Gwen are a little more difficult to play. I think that being said, once you learn, like Gwen's perfect protection, like is bonkers good in my opinion. I can beat almost anything with that deck, no problem. Miles, I get why you could struggle with Miles, like because you want to use the statuses a lot. And Rodin and Thanos, right? Well, Thanos you can't, and Rodin it's a little harder to because I think he gets Stalwart with the hammer, if I remember correctly. But I don't remember off the top of my head. But regardless, I get where the argument can be for Miles. For Gwen, it's a little shocking to say that. So here's the thing: is this person like wrong in their assumption of like that Peter should be up there? Well, no. If they're winning a lot, then no, it's not wrong. It's just a different perspective and a different opinion on things. So that's kind of how I feel about it. For me, I don't think Peter is balanced well enough. I really don't, and that's why for me he's always been mid tier. He can't throw it well. I get that he's very strong with backflip and the standard 3 for 8 damage. Like all that stuff is nice. The extra card draw is nice. Like he's not bad, but thwarting on true solo is really tough with him. So I don't know if that's. I'd be interested to see how they're really getting around that with Ronin. You could probably rush past that. Thanos would be a little more interesting. Now there is a higher threshold. So anyway, long story short, because I haven't even read the comments yet, so I don't know if the person's like getting trashed or whatever, and I hope not, because this is a whole larger discussion for tier lists that probably does need to happen at some point in this hobby or in this space of the hobby. Is I think too many people get caught up with D20 has a power tier list of this, and so has a power tier list of this. Like who's actually right? And the thing is, you can actually both be right about the thing because it will forever be subjective. It can't not be subjective. There's no data way to do it as I would know of, right? Actually, that's not 100% true. There is a simulation, and I forgot the website, and I apologize because the guy's in the Discord too. And it's a cool thing where you can build a deck and run a simulation, but then that comes to the restrictions of the deck that you're building, so you have to go figure out what the best deck is. So you have to run like a lot of simulations, like a lot of simulations. And then it comes down to, with power tier lists, what your rating is important and what's not important. Right. So it becomes a whole big thing. And then your standard for a power tier list might be mine. So like, for example, for when I do power tier lists, my idea is that they are very good at a lot of things, right? If they're high tier, they're very good at a lot of things. If they're okay at a lot of things, they're like mid. And if they're like really good at one or two things, but bad at everything else, then they're like near the bottom, right? That's how I do my list, but you may do your list differently. So anyway, that's kind of how I feel about that. But it is shocking that they're doing so much better with Peter than Gwen and Miles. Maybe I just need to get better with Spider-Man Peter Parker. I don't know. Maybe I'll play him more. Best online store to order that ships for Street Day. Wondering if anyone can share the best online stores they order from that release on or close to the Street Day. My local store is great, but it takes them forever to order stuff. Needs to still order Angel and Psylocke and want to get some recommendations. Let me know too. I have ordered from Asmodee, and sometimes it came before the street date, sometimes it came on the street date, and sometimes it came 2 weeks after the street date. I've done a miniature market where it's come usually like 5 days after. 5 days? Because it'd be like a Thursday. Yeah, like 5 days after, like roughly. Game Nerds, sometimes it's like a day or two later, and sometimes it's like a week later. Boardlandia, I think for me, for the most part, has been pretty far after. I've tried a bunch, and it's hit and miss, right? I can order from the same store 5 times in a row, and it'll just be 5 different times. So anyway, if there's something that's been kind of consistent with you, let me know. I'm kind of interested in that because I'm always shopping around. Asmodee used to give you free shipping on pre-orders, so that's why I did that because I didn't really care. And now it's like $10 they're charging, which is ridiculous. So I gotta find a new store. All right, few rules questions. Penny activates independently to suit so she can recover even on turns that the suit attacked if she flips. Correct, right? I'm pretty sure. I haven't looked at Penny Parker for a little bit, but I'm pretty sure the suit would exhaust, and then the other card is the one that Penny is. So then you can exhaust that. Yeah, that's more than fine. That's why I just physically exhaust the cards, and you can't exhaust it again, right? That's why like that aspect is nice of doing that. In Venom Goblin, when he schemes, the threat goes to glider counter scheme, right? Whatever the active one is. So you put the glider counter on the active scheme, whatever one that one is. Then yes, you're good there. Just making sure I play those two. Yeah. All those small rules I get because like a lot of those things like I'll play and all of a sudden I'll be like, was I playing this right? I don't know if I really was. Like I hope I was. Jeez. And then it's really embarrassing when you play it on a stream and then everyone yells at you because they're like, oh, certainly D20 wouldn't make that mistake. Sometimes he would. Am I missing out by only buying characters, teams that I like? When it comes to Marvel, the main characters I like are X-Men and Spider-Man. All right, fair. There are a few others that I like, but not currently in Marvel Champions. I don't own all the X-Men content, but the Spider-Man content only had justice protection aspects. I currently own 4 protection, 3 justice, 2 aggression, and 1 leadership hero. Once this wave is done, I have everything. I'll have 6 justice, blah 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 blah. I'm wondering if I'm missing out by not branching out. I probably wouldn't play the other characters, but I guess the other decks would build up my pool of certain aspects. Should I just hope that the next X-Men has some more aggression and leadership heroes? So this is like a weird kind of thing, and it's weird in the sense that yes, getting the larger card pool is really nice, and there are people that just buy heroes just for the card pool. I I would still say to try the hero, like just give them a try. Like there's heroes that I don't really care for. Like I'm not a big X-Men person, but I do like a lot of the X-Men heroes, right? I do like their mechanics. And maybe that's not for you. Maybe theme is the most important thing, which I totally get. So I would just wait until things get like really cheap on sale then and buy it. It does make it much nicer to be able to build more interesting and diverse decks. At least I think so. So I do think it's worth getting the other heroes. It would probably be one of the last things I get though. I would get the big box expansions first, because there's just more value there, I believe, and then get all the hero packs later on. But there's nothing wrong with just getting the heroes that you like. Like if that's how you enjoy playing the game, then go for it, right? Whatever makes you happy and whatever gets that game to the table for you, that's awesome, right? Just keep doing that. But if you get to the point where you're like, I wish I could do more with the hero I really like, then yeah, I mean, go to Hall of Heroes, look in the packs, see the cards that come in there, and see like, oh, like I really like the idea of this card. It'd be fun to like own that card, right? That's how I kind of approach it, and then just wait for it to go on sale like Black Friday or something like that. I got a choice between getting either the Mad Titan Shadow or a hero pack set that includes Spider-Ham, War Machine, Valkyrie, a random scenario pack, a random one. Both of these options are priced the same. Okay, so here's the thing. Any normal time, I would say you get Mad Titan Shadow for sure. You're right. You get Mad Titan Shadow for sure because big boxes. There's a lot of content. There's a lot you could do with it. But Valkyrie, I mean, if you're just asking me between Valkyrie and Mad Titan Shadow, I go Valkyrie every single time. But no, in all honesty, I would go Mad Titan Shadow for that. I think there's just more value there with it, and I'd be curious what the random scenario pack is. Like if it's Wrecking Crew, that's a bit different than like the Hood or Mojo or literally anything else, really. I am so disappointed with Phoenix. First, I do like Phoenix counters. I do like contained release mechanic. Depends on you, the player. Do you need full power? Be mindful of the potential consequences. Do you want to avoid the beast? Be cautious, okay? But this is the key. Depends on the player to use those counters. This is such a good mechanic and thematic. If you use your last counter and draw your obligation, Dark Phoenix is released. Okay, that's not really how I would look at it with the last mechanic or the last counter, but sure. I was being cautious. I feel okay. We'll get into this in a second. I had 5 counters thanks to Alter Ego and Cyclops. Then I draw Shadows of the Past. Where is the mechanic I was talking about? Where is the player decisions? Just draw a random card and you lose the game. I love the fact that Dark Phoenix is a virtual. I love the fact that Dark Phoenix is a virtual game over. I'm okay with if you release Dark Phoenix, it's over while it's the player, but linking the Shadows of the Past to it's over, dude, is poor game design. And this is what I dislike most. Thematically, it just doesn't make sense. I was contained with 5 counters and fighting against my release form like I was chilling out after a yoga class. I wish there was another Nemesis link to show. Okay. So, first off, the big thing is that it's this weird lie on the internet, I guess, that Dark Phoenix is game over. It's not. Actually, it's pretty far from game over. It's really easy actually to handle Dark Phoenix. So I play a lot of Phoenix. I really enjoy Phoenix's design. I really like Phoenix and the way she works. And then she's psionic, and they're getting more support for psionic. Dark Phoenix and the side scheme, which I can't remember what it's called now, the Rise of the Phoenix or whatever it is that doesn't leave. I love the way that they look, the way that they work. I don't think it's a game over, right? I don't think that at all. She's not that hard to beat, and the side scheme can just sit there, right? Like it honestly can. Like you just thwart a bit, and she thwarts for 3, so just thwart it like 2 times, and you're good, right? So it's not hard at all to beat Dark Phoenix. But I feel like there was so much talk in the very beginning that Dark Phoenix was basically a game over because people were worried about the side scheme going up to 12, which caused it like the game to be done, right? I get that, but it probably won't, right? Because Dark Phoenix is not that hard to beat. So I kind of disagree with that it's game over and that it's not fun. I think it's kind of interesting in the way that, like, kind of the same with best laid plans, right? You may have the best plan whatsoever, but sometimes life just happens and just knocks you sideways. Also, it's interesting that the way that they're doing this is that they're trying to be cautious with having a bunch of counters on. Like, nah, run those counters down. Like, build and run those counters down until like the very end, and then flip and go for it, right? Like, generally when I play Phoenix, I build her out in the first 4 rounds using a counter about every round, maybe 5 rounds. And then once she flips over, like, I'm going for the win in 2 rounds. Like, that's how I play her. So it's interesting to see that they think that they need to keep a bunch of counters up to do stuff. You really don't. Like, don't worry about it. And don't fear Dark Phoenix. Like, it's not a game over. I know this was, and this might be me. I might have said something too, like during the previews and stuff. This might be slightly on me. But it's really not that bad, right? It's really not that bad. Like, have it go out and just knock her out and then deal with the side scheme, and you'll probably be fine, actually. Will this game die in the near future? I just bought the core set because I love the game. I played it on Tabletop Simulator for a long time before deciding to buy the real thing. However, after playing a lot of games, I had some realizations. The core design of the game feels limited. I feel like there is not much room to expand heroes, plays differently on the outside. But when you dig deeper, almost every hero cards are the same, just a different variation of how you do the math. Playing a lot makes me feel like I'm just doing math. With Fantasy Flight Games' previous track record, it seems like they have a habit of scrapping a game after a few years because they tend to exhaust everything they have to offer. What do you think will be the lifespan of this game before Fantasy Flight Games decides to not to update it anymore? Okay. Okay, I know we love to joke that this game is dying, right? We love to joke about that. So maybe this is my fault that people like this exist. I don't know. The core design feels limited. Yeah, that's most games. Most games will feel limited. Like, there is yet a game I've ever played in my entire life where after playing the box, like the entire like main box, I went, they probably could have done more. That's every game. I don't know what to tell you. That's every single game. So that's that. I feel like there is not much room to expand. Heroes play differently on the outside, but when you dig deeper, almost every hero card are the same. Just with different variations on how you do the math. No. Like, I don't know what to say besides no. Yeah, I guess they all generally exhaust to deal damage, right? And they all generally have cards that you could play that could deal damage, but the way they do those things is different. So yeah, I mean, I guess I could use a calculator to do 8 times 2, or I could just write out 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. I mean, it's just math. It's the same. I don't understand arguments like this. Like, I feel like we're seeing more and more of this, and I get it because the game is getting more popular and haters gonna hate, which is cool, whatever. But like, come up with better ideas of how to hate on the game. Like, this is really weak. This is really weak. I mean, literally every single game can be made with this argument, right? Well, Gloomhaven, I'm just playing a card and flipping a small card over. There's no decision that you have to do. Just play a card, flip a card, play a card. Oh, then I have to move a little piece around. Oh, that's so easy. Oh, that every game is like that. Like, you can make this argument with every single game that's out there. So obviously the game's not for you. Don't play it. But I do want to go to the other critiques. Playing a lot makes me feel like I'm just doing math. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's actually fair. There is math. There was a joke about Lord of the Rings for a long time that Lord of the Rings is just like math, the board game, because you're doing a ton of math in that game. So, but anyway, like, that's a lot of games. Like, that's why they have score pads, because you literally are adding and subtracting things constantly. Like, do you play games? Have you played games? Do you understand this, right? There are win and loss conditions, and usually you have to add and subtract. Sometimes both. So with Fantasy Flight Games' previous track record, it seems like they have a habit of scrapping a game after a few years. What are they talking about? Like, okay, maybe Game of Thrones. No, that lasted a while too. I don't know what they're talking about, to be honest. Lord of the Rings lasted about 10 years. I know they're still like reprinting stuff, but whatever. Arkham Horror is what, 8 years now? That's still pretty good. Marvel Champions is at 3, 4, 5 years now at this point. So, if I'm going to be as critical as possible, a few would be 3. I don't know what game they've scrapped as an LCG after 3 years. I don't. Provide examples, please. So anyway, as far as A real question in here that is actually worth discussing is, what do you think the lifespan of this game will be before it decides not to update it? I think sales obviously will dictate that. My guess is that we're gonna hit probably around like the 8-year mark, and we're gonna start getting like running out of the big name heroes. It doesn't die then, but we start running out of those heroes. That it's gonna be interesting to see if people still are drawn in, right? Is it still gonna be exciting for people to get into the game? X-Men has been huge for this game because a lot of people have gotten into it. And I think it's really breathed a lot of life in this game. And I'm hoping. I know they have a limited contract deal with the X-Men people that own the rights to it or whatever, that they only do it for 3 years. I'm hoping that sales are so good and so many people are brought into the game that Fantasy Flight Games can go back to those people and be like, hey, let's do like another 3 years. Like, that's not out of the realm of what can be done. And if that can be done, like, that extends the game quite a bit. So I think, one, it depends on sales. Two, it's going to be depending on the big heroes. There's a lot of big X-Men heroes. I don't really know them because I don't know X-Men that well, but people tell me there's a lot of them. Past that, you have Daredevil, Fantastic Four. You have a lot more in the Spider-Man universe. You have Punisher. You have Ghost Rider. You have Kool-Aid Man, right? You have a lot of big names that are out there still, but once you exhaust all them, it'll be interesting to see what happens past that. I think once they exhaust it, there is probably like a 2-year time frame where they'll start judging like, oh, how good are the sales or how good are they not, type of thing. So it'll be interesting to see in the long run. For those who use tokens, what do you use them for? The easier thing is, what do I not use them for? Which I don't think there is anything. I think I use tokens for literally everything. Not exhausting the card. That's the only thing I like for the hero. Not exhausting the hero. But I do have another token to let me know that I use their special on their card. So maybe I can get 2 tokens. Maybe I should put an exhaust one in there so I literally do everything with tokens. So anyway, I've been considering creating a handful of tokens to this game to easily denote the characters with Ariel, Star Wars, which that stuff like really weirdly helps because I don't have time to read cards over and over. Just for an easier at a glance reading, game state, I know there are a lot of things I can do with them, but the various options of those who exactly use them, what do you extra tokens that aren't worth the hassle. I'm still playing with most of first wave stuff, so I don't know how prevalent it becomes, but would it be helpful to have token things like X-Men, Web Wars, and Avengers for effects like those targets? I don't know if those tokens are really useful. I put them on the hero board just so like the viewer can see it, but I don't know. Like, I guess I don't use honorary X-Men a lot or anything like that, like the honorary cards, but I still have them. So maybe I should use them. I don't know. But yeah, I don't use honorary stuff enough to like justify it. But anyway, I use tokens for a lot of things. Watch the videos. Go watch all my videos, like all of them, all the way through. And then when you see an ad, just like click on the ad. Don't do that. I'm sorry, YouTube. Don't get mad at me about that. But watch all the videos. Main scheme thresholds. Couple things. One, I'm not complaining as much as I'm generally asking out of curiosity. And two, I primarily play solo, so this question has nothing to do with multiplayer, which I've heard plays slightly more balanced, maybe. Anyway, does it feel like it's nearly impossible to flip down for a turn? I highly prioritize managing the main scheme, so I'm not saying I flip down whenever I want and lose like a fool. But there are plenty of times when no matter how low the threat is, 0 or 2, if I flip down, the villain schemes out through a variety of ways that's simply impossible to stop. I know there's the dreaded advance card, and I've seen my share of losses to Rhino and other villains, but there's lots of other times the wave of scheme cards just can't be stopped. Which leads me to the question, do main scheme thresholds seem a tad too low in true solo? Not for all villains, but several. No. Like, I would argue yes prior, but no now. So because we have, I don't even remember what the actual card is called, but Space Fan. Right now that we have Space Fan, that increases the threshold limit by 4. I think that changed the game for solo. Now I get the argument that you're like, well, you have to play Justice all the time for solo. It's a fair argument. That's fine. But I think that helps a lot. Counterintelligence, right? That prevents 3 threat from being put onto the main scheme helps a lot, right? Being able to confuse lock a villain helps a lot. Like, and now confuse can be used by other aspects, which is opening that up. I don't think it is that rough anymore. Now, Mr. Sinister is a little rough because it's a 5 threshold on the 2-stage thing, and it goes up by 2 each time. So like, you got to be really careful with that. Like, if I flip down, it's because I'm making a push. So is a little hard with him. Yeah. With like Rhino and stuff, I used to argue yes with Rhino, but now that we have Space Fan, it's not as hard anymore, right? It's not so bad. So because it went from 7 to like 11, and 11's like really high. So I mean, maybe it's a little low now and again, but to me, it's just like a part of the game at this point. And again, there's so many allies that are coming out with ways to confuse the villain in other aspects or other cards that allow you to do it. They're like, I don't think it's as bad as it used to be. I think they'll still improve it and make it better, but I don't think it really is anymore. If you asked me this question like 2 years ago, then I would agree with you that yeah, it's rough. Like almost half the villains feel rough, but nowadays, no, I don't think it's that bad anymore. Tips on True Solo. Have always played two-handed, but thinking of making the switch. Advice? Yeah, I will tell you what Nelson from All Over Games told me when I started really getting True Solo Marvel Champions, and he told me to get good. That's my advice. Get good. Now, start with Justice. Justice is the easiest way to play. Start with heroes that you like. Worry about the main scheme, and then you know, learn. Just play to like learn how to control the villain, learn how to control the board state, and really just got to focus on the main scheme, and that's it. Storage suggestion. Should I get the Game Genic Dungeon 1110 Plus convertible box now to future proof my storage? You will never be able to future proof your storage. That's what I've learned about this game and many other LCGs. Is there's always more stuff. So, or I would use the original box, other temporary storage solutions first. I do know that my collection will only grow from here because I love this game a lot. I use BCW white boxes. They look like big shoe boxes. I've shown them on stream. Friendly reminder, go over to twitch.tv/D20 Woodworking, hang out with us. And it's got like a divider in the middle of it, and they're just lined up. And I'm up to 4 of those boxes now. I think 4 of those boxes now. And like Lord of the Rings, I think is at, hold on, wait, let me do math. 3, 6, 7, 8 or 9 of those boxes. Arkham Horror, I only have like 3 because I can still use the big boxes as storage. So I use those boxes. I would like to get something really nice like the Game Genic Dungeon things. Like they look really cool. I'm kind of worried about it though, because I know I'm going to outgrow it and I'm going to like dump a lot of money on a new one. But anyway, if anyone has storage solution that's like a nice one, like Game Genic stuff, like let me know if you like that stuff. I'm kind of curious. All right, so hopefully you enjoyed this week's Reddit reply. We covered a lot. This was a much longer thing, but there's a lot of good questions out there. A lot of people are getting to this game, which is really cool to see. A lot of questions. If you have any additional questions, put them down into the comments. And once again, this is a friendly reminder. Join the Patreon if you are interested in doing that over on patreon.com/D20 Woodworking. I'm sure it's that, but go check the link down in the description. And also make sure to join us over on twitch.tv/D20 Woodworking. And if you made it this far in the video and you have yet to subscribe, please do so. Please do so on this channel. It really helps out the numbers. It really helps out the channel a lot. So hit subscribe, turn on notifications so you know when you get a new video, because they're coming out basically Monday through Friday, every single day. And there's lots of fun stuff there. So I appreciate you all hanging out, doing this, and I will see you all next time I go live. Take care.